What's up, babes? Fairy Rave Godmother here, pulling up with the good. Oh, and Coco. She's always here, usually here. She's just not always in the shop, but today I guess is a different story. And what a story we are in. Listen, do you know why I call myself the Fairy Rave Godmother? Well, I'm gonna tell you, whether you know or not. Back in the late 90s, early aughts, I was living in Europe. A large part of that time I spent in London, and we clubbed, we danced, we raved, warehouse, dock, actual club venue. We partied. And my school, I was at the time at university, my school was an international school. So that looked like everybody and their brother and mother and a whole lot of cultures showing up, learning, and then on the weekends or, weekday mornings and whenever, coming together to party. The dance floor is a healing space like none other. Not only does it feel good to move the body, but it is that space where we are just human, where we are responding to the space around us, ebbing and flowing, and we're just human. Regardless of nationality, financial status, got my shit together level status, we was there. And I was always that person going on the side missions, finding people who needed a little love nudge, who just needed a hug, maybe some orange juice, who needed to be seen. And when I started making these videos, I took inspiration from that role. Okay, now I, am wearing trainers and earplugs and still love my parties. Not the drugs, not the drink, just the sound, the vibe. Raves nowadays are a little too pretty. Not really gritty enough for my liking, but you get the point, right? It's this thing that just kind of has lived with me, and space that I have loved. When I had my office and headquarters in Alabama, it was decked out and dressed like a rave. Lights, stuff hanging from the ceiling, dark, always loud music. Because I wanted to subvert, I wanted to also play with the idea that we heal and we exist solely in clinical, safe, white, quiet spaces, because we don't. We exist in the world. And by offering an environment surrounded in art and one that was just like, different. Well, that's the stage I set for my students to be on their journey of self-exploration. Now, pulling it back up, because look, Mercury in Virgo, Cazimi the sun, September 13th through the 15th. By the way, I use Porphyry house charts, so that's where I get my transit information alignments from. This feels like, to me, not just another exercise in discernment, exercise in personal self-exploration. This is the world's journey. Because this interplanet transit is also happening against the backdrop of the Saturn-Neptune situation. Saturn right now is in Pisces, Neptune in Aries. They're going to do their dance. The creating and dissolving of boundaries. And in a previous video, I mentioned that I felt like this is part of the reason why collectively we in the limbo. In psychosynthesis, you know, we talk a lot about the being in the nothingness. We want personality. We want to have our human experience, or we have our human experience and busy ourselves and busy our minds so to not be in that space of nothingness. But you know, it happens. I mean, it's part of the process of psychospiritual growth, where we encounter spaces where we're like, stuff before sucked, changed, gone, changing. What's coming? I don't know, but also not so great options, because we are embedded in a whole lot of situational stuffs and things that we are privy to, that we feel, giant systems that we live by, said and unsaid, moral codes that drive the world into tribal fractions. And also the world is the world, and it's so big, and we don't have all the information about everybody all the time, ever. So we do need structures, but because we are operating across the globe at such different levels of consciousness, we're not always going to meet each other where the other is at. We're going to meet them where you're at, where I'm at, where the individual is at. Because that's how we leverage awareness. Is that a good word? Okay. Let me bring it back. Check my notes. Note check. Okay. Mercury in Virgo, Cazimi. This is also conjunct the South Node. Moment of clarity. The Cazimi, kind of like this aspect where you get to the heart of the matter a planet can go. Cazimi, which is essentially just conjunct the sun, illuminating something that is present, kind of like putting a spotlight on something, I'd say. And the South Node contains the accumulated karma, cause and effect of prior actions. Those actions create the momentum going forward. So if we're in this weird limbo state, maybe feeling rudderless, we're just being in nothingness, what do? Part of the process is change. Part of the process of change is the trust that the limbo that we're in is going to eventually break. I say it probably too many times. I should probably trademark this, but look, it's above my pay grade to understand what exactly the universe is doing. But I respect and honor that there are bigger systems, bigger cosmic systems that are working their own stuff out. And so that this whole giant process of consciousness expansion, universe, the motion, the movement, the exchanges of energy between these dynamic celestial bodies, just so that it's not all of a free-for-all, it is also about minding the energy. Virgo is all about discernment, boundaries, and saying, this belongs here because this is an energetic match, or this belongs over there because we're not really vibing with this. We've changed, we've transformed, we don't align with that anymore. So I'm gonna edit this part out. I'm gonna clean out the closet, maybe spill some guts, feel better. Jupiter in Cancer is squaring Mars right now. So the overarching theme, Jupiter, the planet of luck, expansion, also worldviews and culture, is in a nice place in Cancer, is in a nice position to up the care factor. But Jupiter's squaring Mars. And this is interesting to me because in a few weeks, Mars is going to do some stuff with Pluto and it's going to get intense. And the discernment here needs to be, where do I put my energy? Do I put it back into myself? Do I put it out there into the world? Am I on this dance floor where, because of everything that I've got going on, I can't even see the humanity in the other person? I just want to put my point of view on you. I think this is a weekend to reflect on whether you make your decisions logically or whether you make them emotionally and also intuitively. And if you're like, yeah, I'm good, I make my decisions intuitively, well, you know what? Bet. Challenge yourself to make a decision based solely on logic. I'm not saying you have to follow it through, but see what that's like. Because increasingly, as this cauldron is bubbling, 2025, 2026, at least astrologically speaking, there's a whole lot of stuffs. So the compass to use is this my stuff? Is this your stuff? Is this a good use of my energy? Is this a good use of my care? You ain't gotta sign on the dotted line for nothing, but a good weekend to practice this. Because here's the thing. As the world collectively, and as we as individuals look to see what's next, hold tight, hold space in this limbo. Moments like this are times to do the work to make sure that your toolkit has what it needs. Sharpen whatever, get whatever, put it in there. Because when some of the more fiery and really intense aspects hit, and that might be reflected in the energetic vibe of the planet, maybe what we see on the news, and also how it gets hyped up and spread like wildfire over social media. And again, keeping in mind, I mean, these are times where we don't know what's real and not real, from low level like AI memes to like, actually, was that like, did that thing that just happened, was that a conspiracy? Was that, because this like kind of looks like a playbook. It's too many coincidences, right? We don't know. And if you want to spend time trying to get to the truth of it, okay, you do that. If you're like, I don't even know, also do that. Dance in that space, but know that you're practicing logic, you're practicing intuition, you're practicing care and humanness, basically humanness. While so much is happening in seemingly non-physical spaces or places that don't always have a hard and fast boundary, like the internet, we need to find an anchor. And so here, I would look to doing some Saturn work. Saturn is physical, material, real. So if you can access your body, if you feel comfortable with your body, okay, you can start to maybe visit some practices to ask the body what it's feeling, how it's responding. And sometimes the body can lead us astray. Bodies that hold a lot of trauma, bodies of individuals who might be at the beginning of a healing, detoxing, self-care journey, they're not going to respond and react the way that bodies that have had the chance to create a self-care practice based on the body. We are not the same, right? You ride a bike for 2 days, it's very different than riding a bike for 20 years. So the invitation is to explore boundaries in your ego. Explore boundaries by asking yourself, is this in my greater good? Does this allow me to retain agency? Am I being empowered to do and allowed to do, to be seen the way that I would like to be seen? And if the answer is no, bloop, move it along. Boundaries on the mind and body, not countries. So, this is all to say, it's a great chance to mind where the energy is flowing. Practice now. And then when, not if, something happens, things get really intense and you go into fight or flight, or you go into reaction mode, not responding. When you're not dancing, when you're elbowing your way off the floor because you just got a jet, right? Then you're ready. Be ready. This Saturn and Neptune sitch is going to go through the end of February. Next summer is a whole lot of astrology we've never seen before. So these smaller pieces, and I hope that if you're watching these videos over time, you see, I hope that this buildup and this piece by piece to a greater thing is what I'm ultimately advocating for. It's a little bit of psychology, a little bit of astrology, and a little bit of what it's like to be on this dumpster fire earth right now. But you know what? We did this. Yes, we literally are doing things as humans to destroy the planet. But we did this. We as souls showed up for the world. We came here, right now, and was like, bet, dance off. So much love to you, babes.